The HHS secretary had something accidentally encouraging to say. Here he was.
A woman who lives in a state that now denies her access to abortion services is 2 to 3 times more likely now to die of a complication of pregnancy than is a woman who lives in a state where they do have access to abortion services. Not just because they have access to abortion services, because typically what happens is you begin to restrict access to health services that women need that go beyond just abortion services.
Yeah, he's lying through his teeth. What he's saying is people who live in states like yours don't have access to abortion, and they're getting a lot fewer of them, aren't they?
And he's absolutely lying. As you mentioned, there was an incident recently in Oklahoma that they've tried to make a story out of. But even with the pro-life legislation that I've passed, we have a carve-out to protect the life of the mother. Just as with if someone were to be breaking into your home and they were to threaten your life and your life was at risk of being lost, you could take that life to defend yourself, and that is called justifiable homicide. So when they say that, that these states that have fully restricted it, yes, we have restricted abortion across the board, other than to save the life of the mother, because that is still about protecting life. If the mother's life is truly threatened, then that should be protected. And I use that example because, as we saw with the Jon Stewart clip, they try to use the example of firearms and trying to claim, the loss of life that happens with that, while they conflate the numbers and use suicide statistics and other things. But when we talk about the use of firearms, there is such a thing as justifiable homicide if your life is threatened, but only if your life is threatened. If you're just out on the street and you don't like the way that somebody looks, or you think that they, that their presence might be something that could indicate your future loss of your lifestyle, you can't just go and take their life. So they conflate all these arguments all the time about when you actually have a right to defend your life, when government has a responsibility to protect life. And in the instance of abortion, government absolutely has the right to the responsibility to protect the lives of the unborn. Those are innocent lives that have not had due process. They have not been put on trial, and they should not be executed. And that's what abortion is.
What kind of pushback did you get when you led this fight in Oklahoma?
Well, we have a supermajority Republican state. We have over 75% of the House and the Senate. So you'd think it'd be an easy bill to get actually passed. Now, our governor has been strongly pro-life. He immediately signed the bills. He signed every piece of legislation that we sent across his desk. Our previous Republican governor, when I sent a pro-life bill to her, she actually vetoed it. So I've been working on this for many years. But even with supermajority Republican legislature, it was a fight to even get the bill heard. In fact, I had to perform a filibuster on the Oklahoma Senate floor in order to force them to actually hear these two pro-life bills, because they were trying to run out the clock. And I told them, if you're going to waste time on all these other nonsense bills, doing all these things that are not protecting life, that aren't the most important aspect of what we should be doing, I can waste time. And so I got up and I read the entire U.S. Constitution on the Oklahoma Senate floor. And then they ended up gaveling me down and saying that it wasn't pertinent to the topic at hand, which shows that they don't even believe that the Constitution is pertinent to the legislation that they're working on. But it was actually quite the fight, quite the battle. We were thankfully able to get it done and then get it passed, get the governor to sign it. And then recently, our liberal Supreme Court here in Oklahoma overturned our constitution, or our bills that were fully constitutional. They used a very convoluted argument to make their case of why they felt that they could interject and overturn this legislation. Now, when they overturned it, they referenced an old statute that still prohibits abortion. So abortions are still illegal in Oklahoma. But it just goes to show how much you can have a Republican legislature, a Republican governor, but as long as we have these liberal activist judges on these courts, these lawyers in a black robe that think that they can undo the will of the people, we're in dire straits. And so we need to be looking at what we can do to rein in these activist judges as well.
Available now, we have a special. It's on abortion. What a controversial issue. Should we leave it alone? Should we attack? Should we wade into it? Let's talk about it in this special that's available right now.